You know, some stories in sports, they just don't make logical sense, right? They completely defy the odds, break all the prediction models, and literally rewrite history. Well, today's explainer is about one of those exact stories. We're going to dive into a team that rose from the absolute ashes of just total humiliation to deliver one of the most heart-stopping, violent, and honestly euphoric campaigns in the entire history of International Rugby League. So get ready, because this is the ultimate story of redemption.
A nation of just over 200,000 people. A team battered 66 in their own opening match. Weeks later, they were one kick away from a World Cup final that no Pacific nation had ever reached. Welcome to Flop Files.
Now, to truly grasp this miracle, we actually have to start with the nightmare that kicked the whole thing off. So it's the start of the 2021/2022 Rugby League World Cup. Toa Samoa faces the host nation, England. And what happens? An absolute thrashing. I mean, 60-6, half a century plus 10. Look, since Rugby League first arrived in Samoa back in 1986, they'd generally been considered a quarterfinal-at-best kind of nation. But for this modern team, a squad totally stacked with talent and carrying the pride of an entire country, this wasn't just a loss, it was an absolute embarrassment. Their World Cup was practically in tatters from day one. Honestly, just rising up from that wreckage to salvage some shred of credibility felt like an impossible mountain to climb.
Okay, let's dive into this for a second. To understand the sheer scale of that mountain they had to climb, we have to look at the actual landscape of International Rugby League. There's this massive historical divide. At the top, you've got the big three: Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain, or England. These are your Tier 1 supernations. To put it into perspective, since 1968, they have hoarded almost every single World Cup trophy. It's crazy. And right below them, the Tier 2 nations. This includes incredibly passionate Pacific powerhouses like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea. But here's the rub. Historically, these Tier 2 nations would regularly end up losing their absolute best and brightest talents to those Tier 1 giants. But things finally started to shift, and it was all thanks to this sort of secret weapon: the International Rugby League's incredibly liberal eligibility rules. You see, updated back in 2020, these guidelines basically provided a massive platform for a global diaspora of professional players to finally return to their roots. And let me tell you, this fundamentally changed the entire competitive balance of the sport.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the playing field was instantly leveled. Suddenly, players were allowed to represent not just where they were born, but the country of their parents, or even their grandparents. But here's the real game changer. Dual-qualified players could now elect to represent both a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 nation, meaning they could switch to their heritage nation without torpedoing their professional careers. This one change allowed somewhat to call upon just an incredible wealth of stars playing over in Australia's NRL. We're talking guys like Jerome Luai, Brian Toa, and Junior Paulo. They were finally able to come home, so to speak, and throw on that blue jersey.
So fast forward a bit. We get past the group stages. Somehow, Samoa rebuilds, they survive, and suddenly, they find themselves in this incredibly gripping quarterfinal against their Pacific neighbors, Tonga. Guys, the atmosphere for this game was absolutely electric, like literally shaking the stadium. About 5 minutes before kickoff, the rival captains, Junior Paulo and Jason Tamalolo, make this amazing, spur-of-the-moment decision to perform their traditional war dances simultaneously. The Samoan Sivatau and the Tongan Sipitau going off at the exact same time. It was this chilling, beautiful display of unity and raw intensity.
If you're enjoying this documentary, subscribe to Flop Files and share this video with a sports fan. We uncover the stories behind the world's greatest sporting moments and biggest comebacks.
Now, those combined war dances really set the stage for an intensely physical, absolutely gripping match. You got to remember, Tonga had just been the Cinderella story of the previous World Cup, back in 2017, where they made it all the way to the semifinals. And now, Samoa was trying to do the exact same thing. The rivalry here was fierce. I mean, the hits were brutal and the tension in the air was just suffocating. So here's the multi-million-dollar question. Could Samoa finally step out of the shadows and beat their Polynesian brothers?
Nope, yes, 20-18, an absolute thriller resulting in this agonizingly narrow victory over Tonga. When that final whistle blew, the emotion out there was completely raw. Back in the sheds, Coach Matt Parrish just looks at his battered squad and tells them, "You've just made history, boys." Literally, there were players with tears in their eyes. With that single win, Samoa became the very first team from their nation to qualify for a World Cup semifinal in either Rugby League or Rugby Union. Huge, right? But wait until you hear what the reward was for this historic victory.
It was the ultimate revenge narrative. A semifinal showdown at Arsenal's Emirates Stadium in London. Against who? England. Yep, the exact same English team that had humiliated them 60-6 just weeks prior. The stage was perfectly set for a battle that would very quickly become known as the Clock End Classic.
And let me tell you, this match didn't just casually ebb and flow. No, it swung violently back and forth. Just look at this timeline. In the 15th minute, Samoa strikes first with this absolute miracle offload from Junior Paulo that leads to a brilliant try. But of course, England punches right back. Fast forward to the 60th minute, and Victor Radley snags this totally heartbreaking intercept. Then boom, 75th minute, George Williams conjures up a massive long-range score for England. It was just a chaotic, heavyweight brawl. But then, in the final seconds of regular time, a late mistake by England's Elliot Whitehead totally snuffs out their chance for a last-second winner. The buzzer sounds, we are dead tied.
So we head into Golden Point extra time. And do you realize just how incredibly rare this is? In 127 years of Test match rugby league history, only one game had ever gone to Golden Point. This was the second, ever. The tension inside the Emirates was absolutely unbearable. You've got 40,000 fans literally holding their breath. Sudden death. One mistake, one dropped ball, one kick ends the whole thing. So, who blinks first?
Turns out, England made the air and Stephen Crichton made them pay. In the 84th minute, right after a forward pass mistake by England, Crichton steps up. Now get this, he had never kicked a field goal in his entire senior career. Never. But right then, he holds his nerve, strikes the ball absolutely perfectly, and just shatters that glass ceiling into a million pieces. The stadium instantly erupted into this wild mass of laughing, crying, and just sheer unadulterated disbelief.
27-26. That was the final score, officially cementing this beautiful, chaotic battle as one of the greatest games in World Cup history. Think about that for a second. The exact same team that was utterly destroyed 60-6 in Week 1 had just knocked out the host nation to reach the absolute pinnacle of the sport. Just wild.
So, the crucial point we really need to highlight is what this actually meant off the field. Because this wasn't just a sports win, it was a total cultural earthquake. Samoa became the very first Pacific nation to ever reach a World Cup final. And they were the first nation outside that Big Three to do it since 1968. Meanwhile, back in the capital of Apia, rugby league fever just completely took over the island. People were literally painting their houses entirely blue. Schools were holding daily assemblies just to perform the Siva Tau. Shops completely sold out of Samoan flags. It was pandemonium. And that pride, it echoed all around the globe. Even Hollywood megastar Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is half Samoan himself, took to Instagram to send this super passionate video out to his 348 million followers. He was praising his Usos, his brothers, for making history. The entire world was suddenly stopping to watch a nation of just 200,000 people completely defy the sporting gods.
Now, the miracle run did finally culminate at the Theatre of Dreams, Old Trafford in Manchester, going up against the undisputed powerhouse of the sport, Australia. Operating with a squad that was just incredibly battered, bruised, and heavily injury-depleted, Samoa did eventually fall 30-10. But listen, there was absolutely zero shame in that defeat. They fought valiantly, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that their newfound elite-tier status was absolutely no fluke. More importantly, though, this historic run completely reshaped the standing of Pacific nations, setting a terrifying new standard heading into the 2026 World Cup.
They call it the Clock End Classic. For Samoa, it was more than a game. It was proof that a nation of 200,000 people could stand toe-to-toe with rugby league's biggest powers. That ceiling is broken. The only question now is how much further Toa Samoa can go. Thanks for watching Flop Files.